Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. Illegal aliens driving semi-trucks is becoming a deadly problem here in the United States. And much of the blame goes to, of course, California and Joe Biden for his open borders. But California, 62,000 illegal aliens given licenses to drive commercial vehicles, specifically 18-wheelers. The driver's license out of California was given to this guy. This was the crash in Ontario we told you about. It is hard to watch. Killed 3 people, injured 4. California also gave a license to that Indian driver in Florida who was making that illegal U-turn. That guy also responsible for this crash. California gave him a license. So neither of these drivers seem to be able to speak English, which is not legal, by the way. How are you even passing the test to get a driver's license? Secretary Duffey addressed this.
The driver that we're mentioning in Florida, he didn't speak English. 3 or 4 road signs he couldn't read, and a clear violation of the rule. So the question becomes, if you can't understand English, you can't understand road signs, how in the heck can you ever pass a test to be issued a commercial driver's license? You can't do it but for fraud. And so that is another investigation that we have undertaken to find out who are the good companies, who are the fraudulent bad companies, and we have to root them out.
All right, we're going to show you some unbelievable video of the fraud and how it's going on in just a moment. But before that, as for the driver in Ontario, California, also an Indian national here illegally, who appeared not to speak English very well, it turns out California defied federal orders 6 days before that driver crashed into those unsuspecting drivers on that highway in Ontario, California. 6 days before, California upgraded his license. They were not supposed to. There were orders. No more licenses for illegals. Secretary Duffey again.
Was the fact that Gavin Newsom didn't comply because he allowed a week ago this driver's license to be upgraded to a non-restricted driver's license. Had Gavin followed our rules per DOT, this guy would have never been on the road. 3 more people would be alive. So we're doing this because we're seeing a lot of foreigners, those who can't speak English, on our roadways, and it's harming the American citizen.
Folks, I'm telling you, I am tired of explaining to you why Democrats, specifically Democrats in positions of leadership, have blood on their hands. Why Democrats are getting American citizens killed through their sanctuary policies, their open border policies, and here ignoring the federal government and recklessly giving driver's licenses to illegal aliens who, 1, are incapable of driving on American highways, and 2, are flat out breaking the law by having a license in the first place. So how are these illegals that can't speak English passing the test? Well, Florida's First Coast News did an unbelievable investigation into this. And what they found in Florida were drivers using I guess it amounts to a FaceTime scheme to answer the questions when they go in for the test. Watch this.
So how does FHP say this cheating scheme works?
We were shocked to see the extent that they were going to.
Brian calls it organized fraud. According to investigators, the men went in here, the DMV on Roosevelt, to take the CDL test to drive a truck, but they are rigged up with equipment to get their answers.
And you see the actual apparatus that he's wearing. He has a chest harness that actually holds the phone.
A red iPhone in the harness, and under a t-shirt, you see the hole right there? So he comes in this t-shirt with a hole cut in it.
Yes.
Folks, I want you to remember, I owned a trucking company. I ran close to 15 18-wheelers. Where are the owners of these trucking companies? I would personally interview every driver I hired. If they couldn't speak English, I knew it was against the law to put them behind the wheel. Who's hiring these people? They're just as responsible as Gavin Newsom is for giving the licenses out, and Joe Biden is for allowing the open borders. So this investigation shows how it went down. They're wiggling around, getting a picture of the screen so someone can talk in an earpiece.
In a video we've obtained from the DMV, this man opening his shirt. Brian says it's kind of like FaceTime. The men sit in front of a computer and wiggle around
Their body language is abnormal.
until somebody outside in a parking lot can read the test questions on the screen in English and then tell them through this earpiece in their language.
All right, here's what I'm learning. There is a massive pipeline from India to the United States where these commercial truck driving companies are hiring Indian drivers, and my assumption is many of them are using schemes like this in order to get their license here in the United States. This is a sergeant with the Florida Highway Patrol.
So the 5 men arrested so far, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
It is.
This is happening all over the country. Maybe from Jacksonville, we can make a difference.
I'll tell you what, great work. I don't often say it, by local media, mainstream media, but First Coast News nailed it on that one, eye-popping. The problem, too, is that California seems to be ground zero for all of this. It is the easiest place to get a license. Secretary Duffey knows that, and his eyes are now on California.
I already took $40 million from the state of California. I'm doing a quick review of their lack of compliance for our rules. I have the ability, and I'm going to pull almost another $160 million. And then I have the ability for California to say, listen, you don't follow any of these rules that keep Americans safe. We're going to revoke your ability to issue a commercial driver's license.
I think that needs to happen. It needs to happen today, Mr. Secretary. To think that Gavin Newsom and his cronies in California gave that driver an upgraded license 6 days before that crash in Ontario. He refused to give a license out. Maybe those people would be alive today. Now, stopping illegal immigration is still a top priority for the administration. And they are also trying to crack down on illegals coming across the northern border. We know that that is a very much of a soft spot for Border Patrol agents. The security up there, let's just say, appears to be woefully inadequate. Roll it.
We don't necessarily have infrastructure, border infrastructure, i.e. road, along all of our border, on the northern border. That is some 5,500 miles of the northern border, 4,000 from Washington State all the way here to...
All right, that's the chief of the Border Patrol sector up in Vermont and into New York. As he said, he needs more infrastructure to make sure that that area is safe. I can tell you this, coming across the northern border, that's where you really have to worry about your terrorists. Ben Bergquam is the man who conducted that interview, who spoke to that chief and was doing his own investigation up there. Here's Ben.
That house is in Canada. I'm standing in America. The only thing that separates us here is this red gate. And in many areas, you've got a fence running down here. In many areas, there's nothing.
So, what are you supposed to do to stop people from coming across? Well, Ben Bergquam has been following this story. I want to bring him in now. RAV correspondent Ben Bergquam is with us. Ben, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Grant. Great to be with you.
All right, Ben, I'll tell you, I did exactly what you did going back to, let's see, November of 2001. I went to virtually the same exact spot you were up there in Vermont and into New York. It doesn't look like anything has changed, my friend, since November of 2001 when I did this same exact story.
Yeah, well, one thing has changed. We have been able to bring the resources back from the southern border. So a lot of the northern border resources were actually deployed to the southern border under Joe Biden to help facilitate the invasion. And so not only did we allow millions of illegals across our southern border, we took Border Patrol agents off the northern border and moved them down to basically be the Uber drivers for the cartel during Joe Biden's term. Now we actually have Border Patrol back up there. I was speaking with Chief Garcia and in the Swanton sector, and that's the busiest sector. And just to give you a perspective, in 2024, they had the largest number. They had almost 20,000 apprehensions just in that sector. But to give you an idea of that number, that doesn't sound incredibly large compared to the southern border, but that is more than all of the other sectors Combined, since they've been keeping records, that's how many they had come across just in that sector in 2024. Since that time, that it has shut down. Since President Trump has taken office, it is, comparatively shut down. The problem now is it's such a long border that you have to have major Border Patrol resources out there. But it ties back to this big, beautiful bill that President Trump passed. They're anticipating building roads in sections that have never had roads before so that they can get to areas that they haven't been able to get to before. But the problem on the northern border is, Grant, you've been up there. It is the terrain diversity is very difficult. So you have swamps in some areas, you have mountains in some areas. It's, snowy in sometimes, it's water in other times. You've got the Great Lakes. So huge geographic issues that they have as well. But as you said, the biggest problem is you've got Canada to the north, and right now we've got Canada who just issues visas like they're candy. And what's stopping those people from just coming down to the United States?
Yeah. Let me play another clip of one of the interviews you did up there. And as he was talking, I watched the whole interview, and I thought, oh my Lord, this just looks awful. Check this out.
In fiscal year 24, we had the highest number of illicit cross-border apprehensions ever made by a single sector on the northern border, and that was just under 20,000 apprehensions. It's 19,300 and change. And in that year, we also had the most vehicle incursions of any sector here, and this is why we put a lot of this interim measure here to stop those vehicle incursions.
All right, Ben, so he's pointing at makeshift barriers to stop. I would think a big truck could push those aside. I don't think that's really going to stop anybody from coming across. And I thought to myself, this is America. Where's the big, beautiful wall, or at least technology, something, Ben?
Yeah, so they do have technology. They've got motion sensors, they've got cameras, they've got thermals, they've got a lot of technology that has been increasing especially since President Trump took office up on the northern border. But as you mentioned, that area there, and that's just northern Vermont, but it's basically like that across the entire border. In fact, most places have nothing. I mean, you could literally drive across the cornfields you see in the background there. That's Canada. Literally, that's Canada. And I asked him, I said, well, we have a wall on our southern border. Do we need a wall on our northern border? And the chief's answer is very simple. We need a wall where the wall makes sense. So there's certain areas where we definitely need physical barriers. But right now, absolutely, it is not up to par to prevent people from coming in. That's where our focus should be. As we secure the southern border, we need to secure the northern border.
It's great work that you did raising awareness about this. And I'm sure President Trump, the folks at Homeland Security will do all they can to get the resources that they need up there. That will change now, but great calling attention to it, Ben Bergquam. As always, thank you for coming on tonight.
My pleasure, Grant. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Enjoy your weekend. We go from that to now how dangerous it is to be an ICE agent. Now, ICE agents certainly have to worry about illegal aliens, but I don't think they're as concerned about the illegal aliens and the MS-13 gang members as they are about lunatic left-wing assassins who could sneak up on them, attack their families, go to their houses, break in at night. I don't know. Could be anything. I wouldn't put anything past the Democrats now with the amount of violence that they seem to be willing to use to try to get their way and intimidate. We now see these doxxing websites that basically amounts to helping stalkers find information about agents, all kinds of information. These websites are not even just being run by private citizens, but people like Lori Lightfoot, the former mayor of Chicago. You've got people in Congress that are offering up on the United States Congressional House Oversight Committee's website. They want to have a website to keep track of agents. To me, it's outrageous. This is Lori Lightfoot.
We start the process of unmasking the agents. Even though they're wearing masks, every single one of them has a towel. We have an absolute right under our Constitution to be able to document what's happening. Every single one of those agents, height, weight, hair color. They wear their vests in a particular way. They're wearing insignias. Even the masks that they wear, the shoes that they wear, the cars that they're driving.
In my opinion, she's wanting all this to create the perception of a problem that does not exist. these ICE agents are not dangerous people unless they're threatened. Then they're very dangerous. But they're not dangerous to law-abiding citizens. In fact, they're there to make everybody safer. So they use rhetoric like this, including calling us all kinds of names like Nazis, to dehumanize the ICE agents, to make you feel better about the time somebody takes a shot at them. Listen to J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois.
This is before the Holocaust really took place. People were accused of being immigrants, and then laws were passed to limit immigrants, and then people who weren't actually immigrants were called immigrants, and then it was othering people, and that led to a lot worse things. What I'm saying is that this is how authoritarian regimes do it.
And he's talking about Nazis, okay? That's Governor J.B. Pritzker, again, to dehumanize. I want to bring in now to discuss all this border security advisor for the Federation of Immigration. I'm going to try this again. For the Federation for American Immigration Reform. He's also a former Border Patrol agent. My buddy Art Del Cueto is back. Art, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Grant. I mean, just listening to those two individuals rant, it just made my blood boil. Look, they're talking about authoritarian regimes. They talk about the Constitution, yet they're very happy to violate the Second Amendment. They're very happy to, years ago, to go after people for not being vaccinated. These people are all about doxing. These people are all about putting people in danger. That's their entire goal. It's just ridiculous how they come after law enforcement, Border Patrol, ICE agents. And it bothers me because I continue to see these so-called leaders in different areas and different rallies, whatever you want to call it. I call it, idiot get-togethers is what they are. And they sit up there and they give orders and direction, okay? Much like, Marilyn Manson. If they want to compare agents to Nazis, well, then I'm going to compare them to Marilyn Manson, giving out orders of where to execute people, where to go after them. In this case, when they go out there and they say, don't obey, don't comply, fight back, they're giving those orders to a bunch of idiots out there, because I don't have another word to call them. FCC will destroy your show and come after me, but they're idiots, they're impressionable, and that's why we're seeing these people out there attacking Border Patrol agents and ICE. You notice how these politicians and these celebrities and everything else, they're not the ones out there in the front line going after agents, but they're very comfortable giving direction to all these minions so the minions can go after the agents themselves. They're creating a lot of chaos. It's very, very dangerous, and I'm afraid it's going to get even worse.
Let me show you a situation in Alameda, California. This is where Border Patrol agents, about 100 of them, showed up yesterday outside of San Francisco to start a surge in San Francisco. Let's watch this. This is a U-Haul truck that basically will not stop approaching the security gates here. Take a look. Art, it's frightening stuff, but that is the definition of F around and find out. You're going to mess with somebody and run a truck and agents, which could easily kill them. They're more than within their rights to open fire on that truck.
Absolutely. Honestly, I'm amazed that they haven't opened fire before already. I've seen numerous videos out there. Hats off to BORTAC out there when I saw them in California and different places that I've seen them. They were in very dangerous positions, but they held back and they didn't open fire. But this is going to get worse, Grant. It's going to get worse because these politicians on the left, as I said, and the influencers and TikTokers and whatever else is out there, they go to these rallies and they start inciting these people and telling them, don't comply, fight back. Heck, we just had a No Kings rally down here in Tucson where the mayor went out there. She stood up in front of the crowd and she told them, do not comply. She told them, do not obey. And the hypocritical part is the entire time she did that, she had plainclothes police officers with her as security. So, I mean, these people, they don't care about America. It's obvious now. I used to sit there and wonder, why do they do it? I know why they do it. Because they don't care about America, because they're secure with private security, with law enforcement around them. They just want others to do their work for them so they can remain in power. Their hatred towards President Trump is definitely a lot greater than their love for our country.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Lastly, I'll show you this video. This was also in Alameda before that shooting. But you can see protesters here. This is cut 16, guys. Protesters here causing all kinds of problems, blocking agents. And Art, before I let you go, I'll let you sum up what we're seeing here.
Look, you're seeing lawlessness from idiots that are easily impressionable, from leadership that is telling them to do this. That's what it's going, and it's going to get worse. I don't want neither side to get hurt. I don't think any of us want either side to get hurt. But these individuals need to understand law enforcement is out there doing their job. They're enforcing immigration laws because the last administration allowed so much lawlessness. And the last administration, I will add, if they would have had the opportunity to legalize a lot of these people that are in the country, why didn't they do so? They didn't because they didn't want to themselves. And now we're suffering the consequences of open borders. And all along, you got the cartels still making money and these people out there doing, the dirty work for the Democratic Party.
Yep, you're spot on, as always, my friend. I feel for the people out there doing the work of America, trying to keep us safe and just getting hammered by these lunatics, idiots, as you call them, and that's probably being too kind. Art Del Cueto, as always, it's good to see you, my friend. Enjoy the weekend. Art Del Cueto AZ is where they can find you on X. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Grant.
Absolutely. All right, folks, I want to just briefly touch on this NBA bet rigging scheme and the poker games that have now intertwined, where you had the crime families of New York intersecting with NBA players and coaches to rig point spreads and poker games and all of these things. Well, if you can believe it, some people are saying that the players were addicted to gambling. Because why would you get involved in this? You're making $25 million a year to make $25,000? That doesn't make any sense. I heard one person say they're addicted to gambling. It's an addiction. I don't think so. Charles Barkley said they're just plain stupid. I don't think this is the case either, but this is Sir Charles.
Ain't got nothing to do with addiction. These dudes are stupid. Why are they stupid? Under no circumstances can you fix basketball games. Under no circumstances. I love to gamble. The notion, like, Rozier makes $26 million. Him betting, giving people information or taking himself out of games, how much money is he gonna make?
Folks, I'm going to tell you as I assess what's going on here. The FBI may not want to hear it, but there's a real good chance that Rozier, the player for the Miami Heat, and Chauncey Billups, the coach of the Portland Trailblazers, got themselves in a situation, maybe from skirting sides of the law, and then couldn't get out of it because the mafia are masters at blackmail and extortion. The reason you risk your entire career is because you don't want the Gambino crime family to take you out, end up at the bottom of the Hudson River in cement shoes. That's why you do it. This was my buddy Johnny A-Light, who is a longtime Gambino enforcer. He took part in bet rigging schemes on behalf of the Gambino crime family. Listen to what he says.
So they get them, they come to the games, maybe they give them a little drugs, maybe they catch him with a girl they're married, so they blackmail him a little bit. Maybe they get friendly with him, they bring him somewhere else. So what they're offering at these private games are a woman, it's alcohol, it's drugs. It's a fantasy life outside of their life. They're looking for adrenaline excitement.
Yeah. And then they get them in compromising positions. And now the blackmail sets in, the extortion sets in, and the threat of physical harm sets in. That's what I think is at play here, why someone would risk everything for peanuts, relatively speaking, to the money they're making as NBA players and coaches. All right, folks, if you missed the October 15th deadline or owe back taxes, know that the IRS is ramping up enforcement, and every day you wait only makes things worse. Here's the harsh reality. The IRS can charge a penalty of 5% per month, up to 25% of your total tax bill, just for not filing. That's in addition to what you already owe. Luckily, Tax Network USA is there to help. Tax Network USA specializes in resolving financial chaos and getting you back on track fast. A consultation's always 100% free. Just call 1-800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/RAV. Let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes the next move. All right, President Trump is meeting China's president this coming week in South Korea for trade talks. What is at stake with all of that? We'll talk about it next.